Hey guys, Thrasher here, and we have more balance change previews. Let's talk about it right now. Okay, so we have 4 new previews. 2 of them are extreme characters and 2 are sparking characters. Let's jump right into it. First up is the extreme first form blue Frieza. So he's going to get an overall stat buff, which every single character we see here is probably going to get an overall stat buff. They should be pretty large. And then his Z ability will also buff tag Frieza Force from limit break 5 stars and onward. And that's really big. I think one of the sleeper teams, or one of the very best possible teams for the Battle Royal that's coming up in July, will probably be Frieza Force. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we see the other extreme character that's another Frieza Force character. So we're getting a lot of Frieza Force buffs here. There's a good chance that that might be the team that you want to run, because most people will have those characters, which is great because in the last Battle Royal, a lot of people were missing some characters that they really wanted to compete at a high level, whereas in this one, there's a good chance you have the characters that you need to be competitive. So next up is special skill arts cost will be reduced from 35 to 10. That is massive. His green card is amazing. The only problem was it costs so much. The only real issue in comparison to the green card of the yellow final form Frieza is that telekinesis works at any range. This character, it only works at short or mid range, but with a cost of 10, it's absolutely insane. So if you can get another character that you can bring on your team that can bring an extra green card, this dude can do a lot of damage. So then let's scroll up to the next one, and then it says and more. So he will have some other type of buffs on top of that. But now let's talk about the other first form Frieza, and this is the sparking one. He's going to get an overall stat buff. Like I just said, all these characters are going to get large stat buffs. His Z ability buffs Frieza Force from limit 5 on. So if you get this guy to 5 stars, he's going to also give a buff to Frieza Force. Like we said, they're going real heavy on the Frieza Force here. Frieza Force just wasn't being used, so we're going to see lots of those characters get buffs. And then the special skill arts range has increased to long range. So the issue that I talked about the last character, where he is only short and medium range, this character can use his green card at all ranges, so it's immensely powerful for him as well. And then new unique ability, Hover Pod, powers up per Frieza Force battle member. So if you run a full Frieza Force team, or at least 3 Frieza Force characters in combat, he's going to get much stronger. So like I said, the Frieza Force team looks like they're going to be very meta viable here very soon, and they may be the sleeper team for the Battle Royal Extreme. So then let's scroll up and talk about the next Frieza Force character. This is another one that you will possibly run in the Battle Royal. Extreme third form Frieza Purple, overall stats increased. Like we said, they're all going to get that. Z ability will also buff Lineage of Evil from limit break 5 and onward. This dude normally buffs purple, and he also buffs Lineage of Evil, so he doesn't buff Frieza Force directly, but anyone who's actually in the Frieza Force that is a Frieza will have Lineage of Evil, so it is sort of an indirect buff to all Frieza Force members anyway, because the team that you're probably going to run there isn't probably going to be Dodoria, it's probably not going to be Zarbon, although you may have them in your bench to buff Frieza Force further. You're probably going to be running 3 forms of Frieza or 3 Lineage of Evil characters, so you will be able to buff your entire Frieza Force team with this character's Z ability, which is very nice. Most people probably have him at least at 5 stars at this point if you've been playing for a fairly long time. And then new unique ability, Assault all costs down, reduces own arts costs, and more. So it seems like Blast and Strike Arts will probably get a reduction in cost, but at the very least, his Blast is going to get a reduction because he is a Blast-based character. So let's move on to the next character. Okay, so we're going to scroll up here to this guy. So this is huge. The Android team really hasn't been doing great recently. The only character that was really viable on the Android team was probably the Perfect Form Cell, the yellow one, and you would run him on regen because it's a much stronger team. But with the buffs to this guy, the team is actually viable again. So he's going to get his overall stat buff. Like we said, he's going to be able to really do damage again. And then Z ability buffs, the tag Android is going to get a buff from 5 stars onward. He used to be purple only, so that's very powerful for that team. And then here's the huge one if you ask me. Special skill arts barrier can start a combo, so that was the real drawback to his green card before. It could block a lot of damage, a lot of different attacks, but it didn't start a combo, and that was a real huge issue. It now starts a combo, and it applies a buff. So we don't know if that's a straight damage buff. We don't know if it's a buff to just his blast arts, which he is blast based. We don't know if it's a buff to the team as a whole. I would assume it's probably just a buff to his blast damage, but we'll have to see. And then main ability inflicts all enemies with plus damage received, which is awesome. It means that you can use his main ability on an opponent and then switch him out. You don't actually have to do the damage with him, and then the debuff stays on the opponent. amazing. So overall, these are all very positive buffs. I'm pretty sure the Frieza Force team is going to be meta viable after this. I think between the buffs to the Pod Frieza, all the characters that are going to get Frieza Force Z abilities, the fact that you have Golden Frieza, it seems like that team is going to be very viable. There's a good chance that we get another Frieza Force character that's a sparking for your standard Frieza Force team that you would normally use in rated PvP. And if we get any other Frieza Force Extreme that gets a buff, then that team is going to be an absolute monster in the Battle Royal. I think it already has a very good chance in the Battle Royal. We'll have to see where that goes. That's pretty much it for this video. You guys let me know who you think is next up for balance changes. We have at least 2 more coming, maybe possibly more than that. And if you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.